Hello, good morning. Miss Jacob speaking. Miss, what we're really saying? January just done, today's the 30th of the month, and you're telling me I had to come in and pay for stuff? So what do you mean? I had to pay for the fridge, the stove, the tray set, and still the computer and the washing machine? Well, hey now, miss, right now, I have my money for go and pay my child's school fee, and my light bill and my water bill cut off. So I had to get them first preference, you understand? I have no money for, I can't for study right now, you know? Right now my head hot. If that is all, I have to be going. Goodbye. Lord have mercy, why don't I find money for pay for them thing, you know?
It is the most wonderful time of the year. And sometimes people tend to go overboard, especially when it comes to shopping, buying things that are really unnecessary. And then come January, they end up in situations like what we just witnessed. So today on the API's Christmas Corner, we will be discussing how to be a smart shopper. I am Shana Daniel, and with me is Ronette Lewis. Ms. Lewis, welcome to the API.
Thank you.
Now, tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, Shana, I am a business development consultant, and I specialize in small business development. So I am very familiar with what we just saw in terms of small business people and managing and minding their money. So I am often encountering situations quite similar to that with my small business people, and I'm here today to just hopefully send a message out that there are different ways in which you can do things in terms of managing what little you have or what much you have.
Okay. Now, why is it important to be a smart shopper, especially around this time?
Well, it's extremely important to be a smart shopper because we all know that things are not as they used to be years ago in terms of the finances. We are often encountering situations where the dollar that we have has to be stretched in many different directions. So what happens now is that a shopper now has to be very wise in terms of how you spend every single dollar. There are commitments, there are priorities that must be met every single month. You have to meet your commitments, you have to meet these priorities, but then of course you have to live in terms of enjoying life and spending. So it is important to know how much you have and what exactly that dollar has to go towards.
So, is it important to make a list and stick to it, or seeing that it is Christmas, you can just shop as you see?
Well, we know often in our Vincentral culture, we love to shop as we see. But the important thing to do is, of course, the budget. So you always set a budget. No matter how small the amount of money or the cash that you have to spend is, you always, first of all, set out with a budget. So know exactly how much money it is that you have to spend. What you have to do on that budget is to ensure that you have, first of all, covered your priorities, as I said earlier, and then from there you can then say, okay, I have X amount left and I can spend it on this. One of the things you have to be very vigilant about is, of course, that money that you're going to spend, it must be towards something that is important and vital. We tend to go shopping sometimes even when we have a budget, but we have in our minds that we want X, Y, and Z, and we see everything and everything looks good at Christmas and we walk into a store and we want to buy everything.
Right.
But we always have to be conscious of the fact that after Christmas we still have to make these commitments. So what happens then? We end up in a bind. So to avoid that, have a budget, stick to that budget, and do not stray away from it.
Now, that's very easy to say. Do you have a tip to help people to actually stick to that budget?
Yes, one of the things that you can do is ask yourself, how much money do I have to spend after I've covered my bills? In terms of Christmas shopping, that is. let's say you have $100 or $150. Of course, we know that that might be a small figure, but let's just use $100 or $150 for an example. So you have this amount of money to spend. You stick with it. Understand that this is what you need to have to purchase. These are the things that you need to have purchased around this time, and stick to that $150. First of all, cover your priorities. Once your priorities have been covered, then the money that is left back then on things that are important and you have decided on spending, you can do that then.
I know that there are some people who usually around this time would say, I'll leave my water bill or my light bill for this month just until after the holidays. What would you say to them?
Absolutely not. Priorities, priorities, priorities. And these are commitments. These are financial commitments that we must meet in order to live. There are many different ways you can shop. You can shop smartly by, first of all, even utilizing a layaway program. A layaway program is one of the programs that we've known from since our grandmothers and grandmothers before have been utilizing. And what happens then is that you pay a little bit every single month or bi-weekly or whatever the terms and conditions that have been set by the store, and you get the product after. That way you're not spending over. You have already actually budgeted that amount of money and you're spending it wisely in that small space of time. The other way you can also do your shopping is that if you are using terms and conditions within a store, understand what the terms and conditions are. Because oftentimes persons say, I like this, it looks good, I want it for my home, and then you don't care about anything else that goes around with it. So the interest charges, for example, persons are not, they're not aware of what the interest charges are, and then they're shocked in January and February when they get the bills. So be a smart shopper, know what your terms and conditions are, try a layaway program. Don't use your credit cards, for example, unless you have to. In cases of emergencies, and so you use a credit card. Avoid interest rates or charges where you don't have to. So budget. So this is the amount of money that I want to spend. This is what I need to have spent around this time, and stick to it as much as you could.
Now, what about saving? Can someone save during the Christmas season?
Absolutely, you can save at any time. It goes right back to setting your budgets again. You have X amount of money to spend, you spend it. But that does not mean because it's Christmas that we have to go overboard. And I think we have the tendency sometimes to do just that. We get excited and we are caught up in the season and we want to spend.
Right.
And in January we have this saying in St. Vincent where things dry, things hard in January.
And January is the longest month.
It seems like the longest month because then after you spent up all the money that you have to wait so long to get paid again. For a salary. So what happens then is that, yes, if you have been saving throughout the year or throughout the years, continue doing that. There's nothing wrong with that. Yes, you may want to do extra shopping and so on for Christmas, the gifts and you might have a few festive occasions and so on. But at the end of it, if you've been saving $100 a month, you can still continue to do that $100 a month because after Christmas, life still continues. And the reality is that the bills are still there to be paid, your commitments are still there to be met. So it is important to continue doing the things that you've put into practice. And if you have not been saving, then it's not too late to start doing so.
Right, very good advice. So in wrapping up, how can one be a smart shopper during the holidays?
Okay. Well, one of the things that persons can do is that find out what it is that you need first. Whatever it is that you need first, you have to examine the cost of that item. Ask yourself, can you afford that item? It may not be an item, but it may be an event or party that you're having, for example.
Right.
So ask yourself, can I afford it? And if you cannot afford it, what then are the things that you can do to acquire the funding for it? I would always say to persons, avoid borrowing if you could. Avoid borrowing because I'm always saying to small business persons and persons in general, people in general, if you could avoid interest charges, please do so. So ask yourself, can you afford to do this event or buy this product? And if you cannot afford to, then what then can you do within your means to still enjoy the season? Because we still have to remember what is the reason behind the season.
Right.
We are celebrating the birth of Christ.
That's
and
right.
So while we have all these trappings going on around us, we still have to remember the reason behind it. So we can still enjoy the season within our budgets. Limit yourself and understand how much it is that you have to spend, what you need to spend it on, and enjoy the season.
Well, thank you very much, Miss Lewis, for giving us these tips on being smart shoppers.
You're welcome.
And remember, be focused, remember the reason for the season, and be a smart shopper this holiday.